Welcome to Tales on the Towpath, the podcast where every mile tells a story.
For two runners who spend a lot of time out here on the C&O Canal towpath, talking about Trent and everything that happens between the miles.
From early morning runs to the stories that keep us moving.
This is where endurance meets inspiration, one step, one tail at a time.
So lace up and join us on the path, because every trail has a story, and this one's ours.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Adam Lowe of Too Low Run Co., and we are a part of the Tales on the Towpath podcast. Here's our co-host.
I'm Chris Earl. I am on Instagram as the Ale Trail Runner, and excited to be here. Thanks, Adam. And over to you, Katie.
And I'm the special guest, Katie Lowe, the other half of Too Low Run Co., and I'll be popping in on some of these podcasts. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's right. Of course. So, yeah, that's right. We have myself and then Chris. We normally do a bunch of running out there on the C&O Canal towpath. And then every once in a while, we'll have a guest on the podcast with us. And tonight we have our special guest, Katie Lowe, with us to talk about her race that she had last weekend and the races coming up to join the conversation. Our first topic for tonight is we are going to recap the Buzz Sawyer Marathon, half marathon, and 10K that took place last weekend in Hancock, Maryland on the Western Maryland Rail Trail. It was the 10th edition of the Western Maryland Rail Trail Marathon that our company, Too Low Run Co., took over this year. We renamed the race to be the Buzz Sawyer Marathon, half marathon, and 10K after the founder and race director of the JFK 50 miler. The Buzz Sawyer race took place on October, help me out, guys, 2019, October 19th. Yep. Okay. Sunday, October 19th. And we had about 135 runners come out between the three races. It was definitely a PR day, and we had PR weather and PR conditions. We had a lot of our Too Low racers that came out, including Bradley, Anthony, Brad and Jane Hammond, Chris Earl ran it, our co-host here, Samir, who won the marathon, Katie ran the half marathon, and then Christy ran as well. So we had a bunch of our Too Low runners that came out and supported the race and raced in their singlets and showed out big time on race day. We are going to get into Chris's race here in just a minute and Katie's race so they can recap the day for us and tell us how their days went out there on the course, maybe before and after, some things that they worked through during the race. Just an exciting day all around. We had a ton of volunteers that came out, Luke and Taylor, Mike and Megan, our other Megan friend who always comes out to help us out for the races. We had the Hancock basketball and softball team came out and they worked the aid stations for us. So a huge day for them. And from what I could tell, they were very happy to be there, and the runners were impressed with them and the job that they did handing out water and encouraging them. Huge shout out to our sponsors. We had Kinetic Collision, Cloud Splitter Coffee, EPI, ELM Active. I'll make sure I don't forget anybody here. JFK 50 miler, of course, and One Life Fitness. And then John Duffy came out and took some photographs for us. So those photos are online. They're on our website on Run Sign Up. We'll get them up there, but you guys can go ahead and see them. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a couple race recaps of the day. Chris, you ran the 10K. Is that correct?
I did. I've got a pretty packed race schedule, at least for me, this fall. And with Marine Corps coming up next weekend, I didn't want to do too much this past weekend. So I signed up for the 10K thinking I'd go out and get a pretty quick time in and make sure I could hit those paces that I'm looking to do on Sunday at Marine Corps.
Yeah. The Western Maryland Rail Trail, for you guys that don't know, it's a paved 4.5 to 6 foot wide course, but it's relatively flat going out. It does incline over the course of about 3 miles, about 150 feet. But by the time you get to the top, you don't even know you're at the top. And then for the 10K, you turn around and you're going right back down. But it's a very smooth surface, actually just repaved out there. So it's very nice. But so, Chris, what was your goal going into the race?
Yeah, I was looking to run faster than marathon pace. I had been tracking sort of my progress on Strava, and with the new prediction tool that they have, it had me pegged at around just under 41 minutes for the 10K. And so that was my goal. I was going to go out and try to run sub 41, which put me at roughly right around 6:30 per mile pace to do it. I thought that would be really good for me. That would be 30 to 45 seconds faster than I'm hoping to run at Marine Corps per mile. I knew it was going to be a smaller race, so I wasn't sure. I thought it would also be a good test for me to go out and push myself to maintain that pace without a lot of folks around, no pace group to run with, that kind of thing. So make sure I had it dialed in. I was very fortunate that when we towed the line, there were a couple of pretty fast runners there. Ryan and Will were there. And for those of us in the local community, we know that those guys are going to go out quick and they're going to be able to maintain that super fast pace. It was good to have them pull us off the start and get out quick. As the race started, I did what I normally did. I went out a little bit too fast, but fortunately was able to recognize it pretty quick and dial it back and settle right in on that 6:30 pace. There was another runner there. I think you know who he is. His name is Ryan Lowe. If you're familiar, he's a local high school sort of standout. And so it was fun to toe the line next to him. And we went out together, ran shoulder to shoulder for about the first mile. And it was good to have somebody to pace with for there just to get into that rhythm. But then we got to about a mile and he looked at me and he's like, okay, that was fun. And he decided to drop the hammer a little bit. And so from 1 mile for the next 2 miles out to the turnaround, he just slowly, gradually pulled away from me a little bit, but I was keeping him close, which was really helpful that it gave me someone to chase for the race. And like you said, on the way out, it's got that slight, just enough grade that you notice it. But I did, when we hit the turnaround, I kept waiting for the downhill and I never found it. So just enough to notice on the uphill, but not so much to really give you that little boost on the way back.
Yeah. So Chris, is it fair to say that part of your race strategy was to either run with Ryan as long as you could or keep him in sight? Or what did you think you could run with him or beat him, or was there competitive there or what?
Oh, yeah, of course, I always want to beat the young punks, right? But Ryan, when he's running his high school races, we all know he's gonna run much faster than 6:30. So I didn't know what kind of pace he would run for the race. As long as I could keep him in sight, I thought I had a chance. On the way back, as we got closer to the 5-mile mark, I was like, okay, he's still reasonably close. If he falters a little bit on this last mile, I might be able to reel him in. But man, I'll tell you what, he hit that 5-mile mark and something turned over for him. And as I started to think, okay, I'm going to start to make a move and see if I could reel him in, he was gone. He dropped the hammer. And of course, as soon as I finished, I went and checked his Strava split. And yeah, he ran that 5th mile at least 15 seconds per mile faster than he had been. So I was really excited to see him finish so strong.
Good. Yeah. So that's one thing I like about these, even the low key small races that we're getting known for putting on, you can still find 1 or 2 people to run with around your ability level and still not be out there all by yourself. I think that's pretty important for people to feed off of as the race builds up and continues.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I've really loved about this running group that participates in this area. There's healthy competition, but there's even more support for each other, right? If somebody's having a better day, nobody's upset that you got beat at the end. You're just happy for that person. And it doesn't matter if you're 15, 27, or up in your 50s like I am, everybody's rooting and cheering and happy for the success that you bring.
So what was your toughest part during the race? Can you think back what mile or maybe moment or anything like that was the toughest for you during the 10K?
I think for me, for almost all my races, it's that when you're about 60% to 80% done in that range, you still got a lot to go, but you're not quite close enough to where you can really be confident that you're going to have the race you want. And so I always find those miles tough, and I just have to keep track of the watch, make sure I'm not drifting mentally and maintaining my pace. Fortunately, this race, I did much better. I tend to, first third of the race is really good. Middle third is about where I want to be. And then sometimes I fall apart that last third. But fortunately, I ran pretty even splits, I think within 7 or 8 seconds, which for me is a pretty tight grouping.
Yeah. Did you have anything that like kept you motivated when things got difficult? Did you think about anything, or?
I was mostly just chasing that white singlet that Ryan was wearing, keeping him in sight and being able to draw him in. And fortunately, when we got to the 5 mile mark, I knew I only had just over a mile to go. And at that point, I knew I was going to be really close at breaking 41. And so I just kept pushing, and at probably 5.5, I was starting to question whether I was going to make it or not. By 5 3/4, I was like, oh, you actually have a shot. The last 0.2 to 0.4 miles, I just put my head down and let the heart rate go up as high as I could push it and keep going. Very fortunate, came across the line in 41:14, which at first I was like, oh, darn, I just missed it. Then on my Garmin, it was just a tad over a 10K. When I got into the data and looked at my 10K split, it was 42:47, I think. 40:47. And so I was real happy with that.
I hate to tell you this, Chris, but as the race director, we make the courses long on purpose, so that way you don't get PRs all the time.
I will tell you that one of the first things I did was when our friend Julie finished, I went over and I said, hey, what'd you get for distance? And she had it spot on what I had. So I was like, okay, good.
Yep. Got it. All right. Okay. Last question for you for the 10K there. Do you have a favorite memory from the race or from the race weekend, day, something that made the Buzz Sawyer weekend memorable for you?
I'll give you 2. First off, for me to be able to win the Masters division, for me, that was special. I didn't really expect that going in. I knew I'd be competitive, but I was happy to be able to put that on my Strava post. But I will probably never forget that moment when Ryan gave me a little bit of side eye at the 1 mile mark and was like, okay, this is fun, but now I got to run. Me of exactly what I would have done when I was his age.
Yep. Yeah. That's great. I'm glad that you were right there on your goal of 41 minutes. And maybe with a 6.2 mile course, you would have been right there with it. But I'm glad you got out there and were competitive. And we can talk about the NIL deal here in a little bit, maybe later, about getting paid for your performance there. But so, Katie, you've been sitting there waiting so patiently, but we all know that. Oh yeah, jump in.
About the course being long. We don't necessarily make it long on purpose, but we don't want it to be short. At the K I ran a few weeks ago, I was PRing, and I knew I was at PR pace, and I came across the line, and it was not 6.2 miles. It was 6.1 or something. So what did I do? I ran through the finish line, didn't get my medal, and kept running because there was no way I wasn't going to have a 10K registered on my Strava when I knew I was PRing that. So it's better to be just a little long than a little short, in my opinion.
100%. Like we've all, I think, been there at those 5Ks where the race director wants everybody to run that fast time when it's 3.04 instead of 3.1. But then you're right. Then you go and look at your Strava and it's, oh, you didn't PR in the 5K because you didn't run a 5K.
I don't want an asterisk by my PR. So I kept running. So Strava would give me the 10K. But
so let me cut you off. Back.
Adam, didn't you do that at a marathon one time recently?
What's that?
You didn't quite have 26.2 when you crossed the line and you just kept going? Wasn't that at Gettysburg?
I did have to go at Gettysburg. I did have to go like another 100 meters or something like that to make sure I got it. Yeah, I did. And that's a little bit of a different feeling, right? You finish a marathon and you just want to stop and you're a little, I don't know if we can say anal on this podcast, but a little anal about the distance Strava, right? Yeah. Good times. So to go backwards on Chris's results here real quick. Chris was 4th overall. I don't know if we mentioned that. He was first Masters, but the top place guy, Will Merritt, ran 33:29. Ryan Rasco was 2nd with 35:41, and Ryan Lowe was 3rd overall with 40:15. And just for record purposes, the top 9 people broke the previous course record that the races. This is the 10th year for the race. So 9 years old, and the course record was 52 minutes. And the top 9 people broke the course record. We were pretty happy with that result to attract a lot of faster runners. And then we attracted also a lot of people who were doing their first 10K or first race or their 50th race of the year. That's what excites us, getting out all the different types of runners. All right, let's go ahead and jump into
female? Was the top female?
I'm sorry. Top female was 7th place overall, and then it was not broken, but Julie won with a time of 48:27. But so she didn't break the female time, but she would have broken the male time from previous years. Out of the top 11 in the 10K, we had our first, second, and third female in the top 11 overall. All right, Katie, let's jump into the Buzz Sawyer half marathon recap for you. So this was a race that has been on your calendar for about 36 hours before the race took place, right? We added that one in a little late to you. And when I say we, I mean you, and you run it by me and your coach. We decided that we had enough help for you to give it a shot and run. But when you decided to run, what was your goal going into it?
The little bit of backstory on that is that when I ran 6 half marathons by the first weekend of May during this calendar year, and my last one was about 2 minutes slower than my PR. And I wasn't really shooting for a PR. So I was thinking, oh, I'm close. I want to go for it. And I've been training for specifically half marathon, went for it at lock to lock and missed it by 1 minute when I was just so sure that it was going to happen. It was a really hot, humid day. It just took it out of me. And I think I put so much pressure on myself. But originally what I had said was I wanted to run Buzz Sawyer because of the nature of the course, the flat. I knew it would be fast. It's just a nice run area and surface. But then I looked at our race schedule and we had the Rick O'Donnell Memorial 8-hour ultra distance challenge on the schedule, and it was only 1 week before. So I was thinking, okay, the smart idea is not to go for a PR in the half marathon exactly 1 week after doing big miles in an 8-hour challenge. So then when the lock to lock disaster, quote unquote, happened, which wasn't a disaster. It was my second best half marathon ever, but I was really disappointed that I didn't get my PR. So when that happened, I'm thinking, okay, what's my revenge half marathon going to be? Maybe Buzz Sawyer. And Adam and I went back and forth on what do I do? Do I run both? I don't know, go back and only to the 8-hour challenge. It does have a 5-mile option. It has a 4-hour challenge. Do I just phone it in, stay in the 8-hour challenge, just do a couple loops because it's a 5-mile looped course and save up for Buzz Sawyer? What do I do? And then just as we usually do, Adam and I don't usually give up one race for the next one. So I was like, I'm just going to see what happens. Go out. I ran the Rick's Run 35 miles on the day and won for the females. So I was defending champion. So that was fun because it's not really expected. I'd won the year before, so it was fun to be able to defend my title. And then I was like, I'm going to go out on Buzz Sawyer and just do what I can. I'm going to go out. I'm going to run. I'm not going to put pressure on myself. I'm not going to worry about it. I've told everybody it was like a no fuss, no muss type of race for me. I wasn't going to look up where the aid stations are, which I should already know because we race direct it, but I knew, but I wasn't even going to get that specific about it. I was just going to go and I was going to be prepared, but I was going to just run whatever my legs would do. And really I run best that way. So my goal going in was just to run low stress and happy. It was fun seeing all the people there. It's on an out and back course of that nature. I get to see all the marathoners, all the half marathoners. I see some of the 10K at the front, before the race starts, and then I get to socialize a little bit with them afterwards. But I get to see most of the people in the race. So that was a really fun aspect. And whenever I started, I I just told myself I would do what I could. And so I didn't really know, but in my mind, I was going to give myself a chance to PR that day.
Well, I was going to ask you your specific race strategy, but I think you covered that for the most part, right? Like you just went out and just enjoyed the day and go ahead.
Well, that was the strategy, but I did know what it would take to PR. So I've been training to run 8-minute miles, maybe just a little bit better. I knew I was trained for lock to run 750s, and that's what I went out at. I probably should have adjusted that, but I really ran goal pace workouts at 8 or just a little under. So my whole time I was running, I was like, keep it around 750 to 8. As long as I'm between 750 and 8, I'm good. And a few times I probably checked my watch 25 to 50 times. It could have been more during that first mile. The first mile felt like it took forever. I was starting to question if I would make it 13 miles because I checked my watch so many times because I'm just so bad about going out way too fast. I get caught up and I have all the adrenaline and I feel wonderful and I feel like I could run that fast forever, and that never works. So when I'd look down at my watch and it'd say 7:20 and I'm like, whoa, no, we're not doing that today. So I'd just back way off, and I really had to hold back. And every time I checked my watch, I made sure my average pace was between 750. It was mostly around 755 to 8. And so that was what I was trying to say. Cause I was like, I'm not going to try to blast this PR out of the water. What I'm going to try to do is just PR. And if I have something left over at the end, I'll give it everything I have. But it worked because if I go back and look at my splits, I don't know if I've ever run with such consistency. I think 10 out of my 13 miles were between 754 and 759, something like that. So about a 5-second range there. And I had a couple that were a little faster towards the end of the race. So my strategy was really to keep it around between 750 and 8-minute miles.
Did you get a PR on race day? You were also 14th overall in second masters. But I do have a question, and I'm gonna go off script here. I have a serious question for you though. So what do you think you did more of? Do you think you checked your watch more during the first mile or checked the weather report leading up to the race? Which one do you think you did more?
Definitely the weather. Definitely the weather. I will check the weather at least twice a day leading up to race day, especially if it's calling for rain or any kind of adverse conditions, just with a hope and a prayer that something changes. But I want to be prepared. Adam always gets on my case about checking the weather. But at first it did call for rain, but then I just kept checking and it changed, Adam. So I think my method's working.
Good. I agree. So like late in the race when it started to become difficult, what kept you motivated? Did you have a mantra? What were you thinking to yourself in order to get through those tough spots?
There was a couple of different things. One, I'm currently reading mental training for ultra runners and for ultra running. And one of the things that I read early on, and it has just stuck with me, is that your mind will give up before your body does. So the whole time I was telling myself, as I was keeping my pace, when it started to get difficult, I told myself that your mind's going to give up before your body. You ran 35 miles last week. You've recovered. You're doing just stick to what you can do, but your mind will give up before your body. Your body has more to give. And I also told myself that I know my mind is one of my strong points. It's one of the things that I feel like I have done a lot of work with, and I've not mastered by any means, but I feel like I have a strong will and a strong mind for running a longer distance or running when I'm in pain or pushing through when things get hard. So while I may not like it, I feel like I still will myself to do it. So I said, your mind is not going to give up before your body does. And it got hard with the last couple miles. I could definitely feel the big miles from the week before coming through, until I kept telling myself, get to halfway and then you'll be coming downhill. But Chris said, I didn't notice the downhill. I don't know about that. Somehow I was still going uphill every time I realized there was any kind of up or down grade. Also, there was a second part to what was motivating for me is that 2 of my daughters were there, and they don't usually get to see me race. And there were times where I maybe thought, "Oh, you can kinda cruise for a minute or you can let off the gas a little bit." And then I'm like, "No, how cool would it be if I knew I was on pace, I knew I was hitting it. Don't give up now because how cool is it gonna be when your girls get to see you run this race, finish this race, and it's your PR on the same day?" That doesn't happen every race. So, the fact that I've worked so hard over the past 7 months or so, and I've been working towards this goal of the half marathon PR, it just all was, like, coming together that they got to be there to see it as well.
So is it fair to say that's one of your favorite memories from the race then is maybe like when you crossed the finish line and saw them, or do you have something else that also sticks out?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought about this. But I do think, yeah, Cece, my middle daughter, had the medals whenever I came through, and there is actually one of our friends sent me a picture of her like holding out the medal, and she has this big smile on her face, and whenever I crossed the line, so that was really special. And one of the things that sticks out to me about most races like this, especially when we have so many familiar faces, friends, or just acquaintances from the running community at these local races. I absolutely love seeing them out on the course and like cheering for each other. Or I was pretty good about telling everybody good job on the way out. But when I got on the way back, it got a little more difficult to cheer for people that I was passing. But I still tried to give a thumbs up or muster some kind of good job. But I really enjoy that aspect of the local racing community and when we get to go to races that a lot of people are at.
I would just echo what Katie was saying. I must have said good job 100 times as people were coming and going on the out and back courses. That's to me, that's the only part I really like about straight out and back courses is getting to see
Yeah.
your friends, getting to see new people, cheer them on, have them cheer you on. It just builds such good camaraderie while we're out there suffering together.
There is something to that. I mean, I've done plenty of like out and backs on the canal or out and backs on the rail trail. And it is different when you're either passing someone or someone passes you and they say good job or you look strong rather than coming from like the crowd. Like that person is in the pain cave with you, right? They're suffering with you, but they managed to give you a thumbs up or they managed to smile at you or something. And that means more than sometimes the random stranger standing on the sideline telling you you look good because that person they're in it with you.
Well,
Absolutely.
I have at the 10K that I mentioned having to run extra to get to the full 10K distance. When I ran that was also an out and back. And it was I won that 10K that day for the females, and everybody I passed after I turned around, it was getting hard because a 10K is a decent amount faster than the half marathon, right? And I was like getting to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is going to be embarrassing when I start walking and everybody passes me. But when I hit that turnaround point and I started passing like the rest of the field that were coming towards me, there were so many people who I did not know that were cheering for me and saying, "Oh, first female," or saying all this stuff, and I just got this boost. Like, you could even see it in my splits where I had started to slow a little bit, and then when I got to this one point where I was passing all these people, it just shot back up because I was like, I can't let them down. I can't look bad now. And that's another thing about if you think about your mind giving up before your body. My body obviously was still capable of pushing harder, but my mind was telling me, "Oh, this hurts. You better save some for the end because you don't want to walk across a line," or whatever the case may be. I think about races like that too, where I'm like, "Wait, I had another gear and I don't know if I would have pushed it if some mental part in it, maybe that mental aspect is the people and other people in the race or the people that are cheering with you." But it is always awesome to come off a race where other runners are like hyping you up at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Adam, we've talked about our race. What about you as race director? Do you have any special memories or What did you really enjoy about the weekend?
It's a good question, Chris. Yeah, I think like for me, like race directing sometimes is challenging, just in the fact that I still really want to be out there on race day, like running, and like sometimes I can't do that at all these races. But then I've had some time to reflect, and I think if Katie and I weren't putting these races on, then we wouldn't get to see 150 people at Buzz Sawyer have these experiences, or at Lock to Lock, we wouldn't be able to see 350, 360 people start and then cross that finish line, honestly, as different people, right? Like one of my favorite memories this year from the half marathon is 3 of our good friends. They come to pub runs all the time. They run together all the time. But Ben, Mariah, and Mario finished top 3 in the half marathon. So, that's special that we know those top 3 guys and ladies, and they chose to come to our race and put it all out on the line. And I really enjoy seeing people that I know and then seeing people that I don't know. From the marathon part, I have 2 real fond memories from that. The first one is one of the ladies that finished just over 6 hours. I think Katie showed me a picture of her yesterday. We actually had to mail her a shirt, and she finished just over 6 hours, and she looked fresh, but she looked so happy to like cross the finish line. I think it was her first marathon. And that does something to you that, hey, if we didn't have this race, she might have found another race, but it wouldn't have happened at Buzz Sawyer. So to see her joy and ecstaticness as she crossed the finish line it's something special. And then from the marathon as well, I got to shout out our boy Samir, who ran a 2:51:09 and ended up winning the race. He passed the leader at, I think, mile 19 and a half. And then just kicked it into high gear. And Chris and I were talking the other day about how it's crazy that we met him 11 months ago, the Thursday after JFK 50, which was his first race. And now he's running a 2:51 marathon, just seemingly loving life and just improving so much. And it's been incredible to watch his journey.
And the fist pump when he finished.
Yep. And from the race, there were countless PRs, there were countless BQs. And even if somebody didn't have the best race, they were, for the most part, coming across smiling. And when we compiled the results, we had a ton of people that had great races, and we had the same amount that they ran positive splits. Like, I'm talking an hour and 35 minutes for the first half and 2.5 hours for the second half. But on race day, you wouldn't have known that. Everyone was smiling, happy, and that's what kind of makes it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. We have one more race coming up this year, Fire on the Mountain, 50K, 25K, in about a week and a half. And then we are full 2026 planning mode to improve our races and help them grow and get runners the best experiences possible. Definitely looking forward to that.
Hey, Adam, do you want to talk a little bit about, for future episodes, what our new listeners can anticipate over the next couple of weeks?
Sure. So we're going to talk here in just a couple minutes about what all 3 of us have on store for next weekend. And then we are going to plan on doing a JFK preview episode about the JFK 50 miler that happens right here in our hometown, starts in Boonesboro, Maryland, ends in Williamsport, Maryland. We'll be talking about that. All 3 of us have run the race, and Katie and I are a part of the amazing race staff. So our race team. So we're part of the planning process as well. So we have some inside information for you there. Let's see. What else, Chris? Help me out. What else do we got on tap? We're going to talk about some mental strength. What else?
Yeah, and then I think as we get into the holiday season, maybe we'll talk a little bit about winter running and preparing for spring races.
Yeah, and then Chris and I have a very exciting challenge coming up in January. Where we'll see how that plays out, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. We're a team in a distance challenge. So we'll get into that. And yeah, we just normal what two guys would talk about on a run on the C&O Canal at 5 a.m. So it should be pretty good. Before we end this episode, let's talk about what we have coming up next weekend. So next weekend, we have the 50th annual Marine Corps Marathon. All three of us are going to be running. All three of us have different goals and aspirations going in. I'll let you start. Katie, are you ready to start here? So you can share goals with us, or you can keep them close to your heart. But what do you look forward to the most about Marine Corps weekend?
I don't know.
Should I start with Chris?
Yeah, I can go. I've never run Marine Corps, so I have no idea what to expect. And when I say that to anyone else, what they pretty much tell me is, oh, it's crowded. So that's what I know. I know it's going to be crowded. Otherwise, I've heard just very little about the course. I know what like fuel and hydration is on the course, but other than that, I don't really know what to expect other than a full marathon, which I have done 5 full marathons, so this will be number 6. I've always had this FOMO. I don't know if you still call it that when I actually do miss out, but when all these friends and running acquaintances are running Marine Corps and posting the picture of their amazing medals, I'm always like, oh, I want to do that one day. So I'm pretty excited just to get to experience it. I've heard really great things, and I've heard some people don't love the crowds. That's a preference thing. So I'm really excited about that. As far as goals go, there's no reason not to share because I'm not going to jinx myself. I don't really believe in that. I'm going in prepared, and I have PR'd. I guess I'll put this out there. Since the beginning of 2025, I have PR'd my beer mile at 9 flat. I have PR'd, what was next? The 5K. Then I PR'd a second 5K. Then the next day after that one, I PR'd my 5 mile. Then I missed my PR in my half at Lock to Lock, but got my PR in the 10K just so I could PR in the half marathon right after. I also did the Rick's Run because I ran the 35 miles faster than I had before, but that one doesn't count. But so I went in order. I went beer mile, 5K, 5K, 10K, half marathon, or I missed the 5 mile in there, but it was in order. So it was like meant to be that half, the first half I tried, didn't get it because I had to get that 10K next, then the half marathon. So I guess I got to try to PR Marine Corps. Honestly, my goal has really been set in my mind at 4 hours to try to break 4 hours. But I have done that once. So my PR is 3:58. Why try to PR or why try to break 4 and not go for the PR? That just seems silly. So what I plan to do is try to do what I did at Buzz Sawyer, except with marathon pace. I'm going to go out. I'm going to check my watch 50 to 60 times in the first mile and make sure I'm not running under 8 for my first mile because I get so hyped up. Just stick to my paces, try to run a consistent race. And I've never done that in a marathon. I've always gone out too fast and burn out at the end. So I'm going to try something new and stick to my paces, and I'm going to try to break 3:58.
I think, call it right now. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, for people who haven't run one of the big races where it's tens of thousands of people at the start, I always caution them that the first mile and sometimes the first 3-4 miles can be really challenging because depending on how you line up and people line up around you, you could spend a lot of time just weaving in and out of folks trying to find your rhythm. And yet you have to just realize that you'll get through that and not get frustrated because it's very easy to do, especially if you're constantly zigzagging back and forth.
I could see that happening, but to me, because it does get frustrating when it's crowded at the start, but I'm hoping that I'm going to keep telling myself about patience because I did tell myself during the half marathon at Buzz Sawyer, you can't run all 13 miles in the first mile. So be patient, hit your splits, I do know that with a super crowded race, if the first couple miles are slower than what I would imagine, then that hopefully that's just leaving some gas in the tank for later. But there's a lot of miles to knock off a few seconds here, a few seconds there. If that beginning is tough, which I imagine it's going to be.
I'm pretty good at this. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and call a 3:56:53. Okay. So you can put that down on paper.
Put it in my Pace Pro.
All right. Perfect. 3:56:53. Okay. All right, Chris, how about you? What do you got? What do you got planned for Sunday? Not Saturday, but not Sunday at the 50th Marine Corps.
Marine Corps, this will be my 10th marathon, and Marine Corps is special for me. 15 years ago, I ran the Marine Corps for the first time, and that was where I got my PR. So my PR is 3:11. I don't know if that is a realistic for me 15 years later to still break, but I think I've got a pretty good shot this time.
So I'm already down for you.
All right, dialed in. One of the things I'm going to try to do this year is find that 3:10 pace group and try to stick with them for the first at least 20 miles and see how I feel. I have a tendency in my marathons to go out a little too fast and then suffer in the 16 to 18 mile area. So I'm going to try to avoid that, stick with the plan, and hope that I can hang on at the end for that climb up through Arlington.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Sounds good. I can't wait to see both of you guys crush your goals and PR. That'll be a lot of fun. Either way, when there's nothing better. So I'll jump in a little bit about my history with Marine Corps. So I ran Marine Corps. My first one was also 15 years ago. I finished just behind Chris, maybe like 47 minutes behind him. There's two aspects to Marine Corps that really stick out, and that is the Blue Mile. When you run down there, I think it's like mile 11 or 12 where they have all the flags out of the soldiers who passed away. It's a very different mile than every other mile on the course. It's dead silent. If you don't tear up, there could be something wrong with you during that mile if you start thinking about it. And then the next point that really hits out is when that Marine places the medal around your neck and they shake your hand. So those are the two things I look forward to the most on race day. As far as the goal for me, sub-3 is the first goal. I want to get back and get that next Boston qualifier so I could check that off the list. And then the goal going in was to go around 2:53, 2:54. And then our boy Samir just laid down a 2:51. So now that's a new goal, 2:51.07, just to get back under his skin a little bit, really. So if it happens, if not, then, it is what it is. But I could go out and do that and then fail miserably, but I'll be happy either way. Whatever happens on the day happens on the day. I'm just looking forward to it. I heard the weather's going to be good. Katie, you checked that 100 times. We're ready to go.
Looking like low 40s to 60, I think, is a high. So we'll be done before that.
Yeah, and I know the race is going to be a little bit more crowded than it has been in the past, and there's some other logistics getting in there and moving around, but it doesn't get much better than Marine Corps weekend in DC, and I'm looking forward to getting back there. I haven't run since 2019 with them, but this will be my 13th Marine Corps, so I'm looking forward to getting back to some of those memories that I had before and seeing what's new about the race and what I remember from about 6 years ago. So it'll be a lot of fun.
So I guess that sort of brings us to the end for today, or did you have anything else you wanted to chat about?
No, I think that was it. I just wanted to recap the Buzz Sawyer races with you guys and then figure out what's going on next. I think we can.
Are you planning
to
do a Marine Corps up?
Yeah, we can do that next. We'll come together next week and kind of recap our Marine Corps races. I think that'll be what Chris and I would do on the run after Marine Corps. We would chat and talk about our races. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with you guys as well, for sure. All right.
I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully we'll be coming back and talking about three PRs or 3 great finishes. So should be good.
Yeah, let's talk about 2 PRs and then maybe 1 I don't think I'm running a 2:44. So that might be out of the question a little bit, but yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to some good memories from the race and some good conversations as we go forward there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is to go out and enjoy the day. Like, I don't want to set a goal so hard and have it be a pass or fail type of goal. I, to be honest with you, I'd love to PR, but if it doesn't happen, I want to enjoy the day, enjoy the atmosphere. And I think if we all come back and are talking about it after the race, I think as long as we gave it our all or we went for it and didn't get it, whatever it is, I think we can appreciate what the race had to give and what our effort will have been.
Absolutely. All right, guys. That's all for today's episode of Tales on the Towpath. Thanks for joining us on another run down memory lane and along the C&O Canal. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep your pace steady and your stories flowing.